Hi, it's Linda from Linda's Paperworks. I thought today that we would do a flip through of how far I've gotten with my gratitude journal. I have to confess that I have not completed the book. I'm filming this on the 23rd, so I still have some days left, but I'm still behind. I think I went through 15 and didn't do 2 of those, so have ideas for them, but haven't done it yet. I have really enjoyed working in this little book. I particularly like this size. I've done a couple of other books in this same size or similar size. And it's nice to have a page that's not so big it's intimidating, and yet it's big enough to write some things down on or do some artwork or whatever you want to do in your book. I just really like them. They're a good size to just put in your bag and carry along with you, or however you want to use them. This one is about 7 1/4 with the fringe sticking up. The pages are a little bit smaller than that. They're more like 6 1/2 by 4 1/4 or a half, somewhere in there. They're different size pages, so they're kind of shifted around. But the back itself is just over 6 1/2 and 4 1/4, pretty much. What I did is I used this fabric, ticking fabric. I used the back side of it on this book because I wanted it more subdued. That's the outside, the right side, and I used the other side of it. I have a piece of corrugated cardboard here, a specimen slide that I created using a stamp for a bee, and the lace back there with a flower on it. And be grateful is my little pun there, and a button with some lace and stitching on the edge. And here I have a belly band with lace on it where I'm going to eventually put my gratitude prompts in there in my list. And this page came out of a children's book, and I added this little squirrel to it. I have 3 more of those. Well, I cut it with the gold color paper, and then I used alcohol ink marker to make them look more like the squirrels in our neighborhood, which are just little common brown squirrels. But there have been a lot of them this year, so I felt like they needed to be in the journal too. This page, I had stamped 2022 there, and I didn't like the way it looked, so I put a butterfly over that and made this little interactive flip thing there to cover up my mistake. Put this kind of tab on there from the old wallpaper and stamped the 1 on it. And my first prompt I did was family. Thankful for the family I was born into, the family I married into, and that I am grateful most for the family that John and I are together, and also most grateful to be in the family of God. And then I wrote about nature and how I love this time of year. And this one was about our home. And I used this photograph that was on one of those mailers that they wanted to buy our house. And, you know, they put the picture from the Google Maps on the thing to make you think they've come by and shot a picture of your house, which they had not, because this tree is way bigger now. But I just wrote, I put the picture there, and then I wrote 4 things that I'm grateful about this house, why I like this house. And then on this little tag inside, I wrote about being grateful for the home where love lives, and that wherever John and I are together, I feel at home. But I'm always grateful to come back to our home here. And then I did, number 4 was in autumn, things in this time of the year that I'm grateful for. And I put a quote at the bottom of this one from John Howard Bryant. Autumn, the year's last loveliest smile. And this little leaf is one from a package that my friend sent to me, and I thought it looked particularly cute there and kind of balances with this leaf from the children's book. This little piece was on the bottom of that page when I tore it down to size, so I kept it and put it in and wrote just a little bit about leaves falling. Then I used the prompt liquid and wrote about water, how I'm grateful for it. And I used various stamps and die cuts to put my numbers on the pages. This is a die cut. That's from a set of stamps. That's a die cut from that's the same stamp set. had 2 or 3 stamp sets and a stencil or 2 that I used to make the numbers. This was another stamp set that all the numbers and letters in that set had some form of that flower on it. And so I used that. But when I got over here to page 10, I used the one from the other stamp set, from this stamp set. I used this one with the floral 0 to make my number because it just seemed like this would have been way too busy with both numbers being decorated that way. I wrote about things that I'm grateful for that have been passed down to me, and I included my grandmother's wedding band, photographs that have been in the family as long as I can remember, and I'm grateful to have those, and stories from times gone by about family stories or friends or things I remember. And then recipes, my mother's sugar cookie recipe, my mother-in-law's sausage casserole recipe, and a 9 to 10 can soup recipe that we got from our cousin one year when we were in Colorado. And the reason it's 9 to 10 can is if you use a small can of minestrone soup, you use 2 cans, and if you get the big size, you only use 1. So generally when John makes it, it's the 9 can soup recipe. And then old cookbooks. I have a lot of my mother's cookbooks and my mother-in-law's cookbooks, and some from other family members too. And on the dictionary page, I just did some stamping on here. I don't know how successful this turned out. It looks a little messy to me, but that's okay. And I highlighted gratitude and grateful on those pages. And I highlighted Granger Eyes on this page to illustrate a book with pictures taken from other books, and to mutilate a book by removing illustrative material for similar use in another book. So that's what we do when we borrow pages to put in our books. This page I wrote down things I learned from elders, and I could add a lot more to this, but I wrote from my daddy, don't drive where you can't see. That's what he said to me after one time when I was just a young driver, and I turned the corner into our driveway. We lived down a little road from the highway, and I didn't turn closely enough on the road and went into the ditch, and a passing man, I guess I knew him, I didn't know him at the time, but some neighbor pulled my car out of the road. And when I told Daddy about it, he said, well, just don't drive where you can't see. He never criticized us. My oldest brother was learning to drive, and he was on the tractor, and he went through I think it was the back of the garage or a fence. I can't remember which one. All Daddy said to him was, well, you drove it in there, drive it back out again. My daddy was funny. From Mother I put, this is the day the Lord hath made, let us rejoice and be glad in it. That was her favorite psalm. And she also said, don't ever leave home in the winter without a coat. And from my grandma on how to keep a tidy house, she said, keep the papers picked up, wash the dishes, and make your bed every day. And I've always remembered that. I always make my bed, and every time I do, I think of her. And that's another one of those little cute leaves from Rachel. On this page, I wrote about trips that I've taken, travel that I've made, and I just wrote down some of the places here. And on the back of these tickets, these are Tim Holtz stamped tickets. On the back of this one, I wrote places in the U.S. that I've been, and on the back of this one, I wrote places that I rode trains in travel. And so that was how I did that. I made this little pocket out of some of this fabric. And I had this set of stamps, a pineapple and a flamingo and a palm tree, aloha and mahalo. Mahalo. I never can say that right the first time. Mahalo, which means thank you in Hawaiian. And that's the first time I've ever used those stamps. So I thought it was an appropriate place to use it, and I'm glad I finally got to use the stamp I bought from Tuesday Morning one time. And then on these little tags in this pocket, I just wrote a little bit about various trips and things we've done on trips. And this was our trip to see Rachel. She has a yellow cat, so I thought that I put our trip to visit her on that one. So that goes back in there. And this design, I had stamped this 9 on the paper, and it bled through and was showing here, so I decided that I would make a stencil using this die, and then use it as a stencil to ink this, to stencil it with that design on it. And I'm happy with the way it looks. It kind of matches this. Then I wrote about light here. Grateful to live in a place where it's not so dark in the winter. We don't have gloomy days end on end, and grateful for morning sunlight that comes through our bedroom windows, and to be able to see sunsets from our west windows. And then I wrote, Jesus is the light of the world. And I wrote Genesis 1:3 up here. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. On this page, I wrote about color, and I used my ink pad that's called Speckled Egg, and it just really is very light, so it doesn't show up as well as I'd like there, but I'm going with it. It's a color, even though it's a light color. Grandmama, who was my daddy's mother, told me one time that she was just mad about color. She was a gardener, and she put all kinds of bright flowers and clashy flowers. It didn't matter if she had an orange one and a pink one together, an orange and red. She just was mad about color. And so I wrote, I feel the same way. I'm not a gardener, but I feel that way about color. There's hardly any color that I can't appreciate. I can't think of a color I can't appreciate. Even a color like pea soup green, I think about how beautiful it can make a vibrant purple or a lavender color look, or how beautiful a redhead can look wearing that color. So I love color too. I'm glad we don't live in a black and white world. And then I wrote, although I do love old black and white movies. On this page, I wrote about books and how I was taught to appreciate them. I have this little specimen card of a butterfly stuck in there. I had it there, and then I wrote, and so this kind of covers up part of it, but that's okay. I like the way it looks on that page. And I think this color ink looks pretty with that. I tried to use various colors of ink. Some of them don't show up too well. On this page, I put gesso to cover up the type that's on there. It's a text page out of a novel. And that gesso has kind of a texture to it. And I noticed that when I was writing with this pen, it's a little felt tip pen, that it was kind of, that powdery stuff was kind of gathering up on the pen. So it's not the best to write on. Maybe there's a better pen to write on it than with one of those kinds of pens, but I got it done anyway. So anyway, I wrote about, I have a new perspective on valuing books. Some books I would never destroy, some I repurpose. And then page number 12, I use this stamp with this key, and that has a 12 on it. But I haven't written anything on there yet, so I have to think of something to put there. Then these two pages, I did this on my parents, and then I decided that it would be fun to have John's parents on this page. And that's his dad and John when he was about 5, 6, somewhere in there. And so I liked that together. I still need to write something back here about that, and I will do that. These two pictures, this picture of Daddy standing by his cultivator, and this one of Mother and Daddy standing in front of the old blue farm pickup with board sides on it. I made one Sunday afternoon. It says April 68. I stamped that on there because it didn't show up on the picture, but this is April 68 there. It probably wasn't in April. It probably was sometime in a beautiful winter day in January, or who knows when. Back then, when we used film cameras, you'd take some pictures and then you'd finish off the roll later, or maybe you'd hold on to it a while and finally get around to sending it in and having them developed. Completely different way of doing photographs than how it is now with our instant cameras and digital images and all of that. But anyway, what I was going to say is, these are my favorite pictures. This picture of Mother and Daddy together is my favorite picture of them because of what it reminds me of about who they were and how they were. They have happy looks on their face. Mother has her church dress still on, so that's why I know it was a Sunday afternoon. Daddy's changed his clothes and put on his coveralls and his work boots, steel-toed work boots. His steel-toed work boots, that's hard to say, because he was going to feed the cows and check on them. And to me, that just represents their life. They went to church, and they were happy, and they worked hard. And this is the same day, the same time. I just took this picture of Daddy, and our old dog was in the picture too. He kind of disappears into the shadows. I wanted to show you the camera that we took this picture with. Actually, this is not the camera. This is a camera like it. This one belonged to my older brother. And I think my brother, my young brother, who's closer to my age, has the one I took the picture with. But it was like this. It's a Kodak Brownie camera, film camera. It took 620 film. Very simple. You held it this way to take a horizontal picture, look straight down through the viewfinder, and click the shutter. Then when you made the picture, you turn this knob to make the next number appear in this window, which has red film on it so that it doesn't expose your film in the camera. A vertical picture like these that I took, you held it this way and did the same thing, looked down and clicked it. And in this little booklet, it tells how to get the best results and things, and it suggested holding it up against your body and holding your breath when you took the picture so that you wouldn't get any movement and you'd have a clearer picture. Very simple camera, but so much fun. And Mother used to talk about how they would go Kodaking on maybe a Sunday afternoon or something. They go, we had a lake built in our area right after the war, and they'd go out to the lake maybe and take pictures there. Or they'd even just go out on the porch and take pictures, or out in the backyard with the cats and the dogs and take pictures, or, you know, something, a new dress they had, or just fun things. Just, those are the pictures I value to have now, just those little snapshots of life. Even though these are posed, it's still a snapshot to me of their life together. And I value this, especially since they're both gone now. And so is John's dad. This I put on because Daddy's old pickup was blue, and the board thing, and this is a sticker from a package from Dollar Tree. And then I got 15 done. I wrote about songs that are sung, something sung. I included old hymns that were sung in church of my childhood that still linger in my heart and memories. And then I wrote about the Beach Boys or Elvis, anything they sang. Harmony, I love harmony singing, and old songs with melodies. I like songs that have melodies and have tell a story. I put Mockingbird Hill, Stardust, Crazy, Patsy Cline singing that, and Blue Bayou. That's just examples. That's not all the ones that are my favorites, but anyway. Then on this page, I haven't gotten to this yet, but I've decided that I'm going to put crow wisdom on these pages and write things that you can learn from a crow. And I don't know what I'm going to do on those pages, but that's still to be figured out. And then the rest of the book is still blank. And I'd hoped to get at least the numbers and the prompts written on there, but I didn't get it done before making this video because I need to cook the sweet potatoes in the pie for tomorrow. Yes, for tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day. So I'm filming early. And that is the rest of my book. I have enough pages to finish it out. And then I also have this at the end. I put this pocket in there. I think I've mentioned this in one of the other videos, that I stitched around the fabric with gold thread and glued it onto this piece of paper and put stamps on it to just give it a little more interest. Canadian stamp. I don't know where that one's from, but it has a train on it, which I love trains. And then this blue one just to kind of pick up this color over here. In this pocket, I put the embossed tag that I did with the stenciling on the back. That's the one I tried to replicate with other ways of doing it. This is a place card, like you would have it at your table for guests. And I got them at Hobby Lobby after fall was over, and they put everything marked way down. I think it was maybe 90% of the original cost. And I just put a few pages in it to make a small little book to put back here. And I thought it looked cute. The leaves look cute with these leaves. You could use this, if you wanted to, you could tear out a page and do something with it, put it somewhere else in the book. Or you could maybe write, not secrets in here, but things that are a little more private that you just didn't want in the main part of the book. Something a little more special or whatever to keep back in that little book. And then this is just a piece of this note card that I was cutting up and making tags with. It's the bee skep and the sunflower and the little birdhouse, and it's just blank on the back. You could use that as a journal card too. So anyway, that's where I got to, and I plan to finish out 30 days in this. It may take me the rest of the year to get it done, but I plan to do it. And I appreciate you watching. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving if you celebrate, and that you enjoyed working in your gratitude journal. I'll see you next time. Bye.